way as the karts make their way off the starting grid. How will they line up? Let's find out. Freddie Lloyd then, who leads the championship with 33 points, starts this one on pole position with Alexi Constant alongside in the treble one. Thibaut Ramaekers, the number 3 last year in the Junior X30 category. He starts on 3rd on the grid on row 2 with Rocco Coronel alongside. Harry Bartel and Thomas Kinsey, they go from row 3, rounding out the top 6 with Lewis Kuman and Vilmer Svahn, who round out the top 8 on row 4. Tyron Kennard and Joey Brown go from row 5, rounding out the top 10 from George Nassar and Felipe Carras on row number 6. Zach Green and Cathal Clark go from row 7 from Sacha van Bosch and Jensen Graham. Harrison Mackie and Eva Dorriston will go from row 9. Joseph Smith and Bertram Sash, they round out the top 20 on row 10 from Isaac Phelps and Johan Helder on row 11. Sandro Perez and Morgan Moore start this one from row 12 with Romeo Bracel and Sam Woolley rounding out the top 13 rows. Walter Bergagneau and Henry Carter go from row 14 with Clovis Nevenier and Jean-Paul Carras rounding out the top 30 on row 15. Angelina Proenca and Sienna Munier round out the top 16 rows all the way back in 31st and 32nd place. The last 2 rows are dominated by Matteo Davignou, Austin Gale, Arthur Huang and Toby Gale at the back of the grid. But nonetheless, we've seen shake-ups all the way throughout this one. We've seen the front runners tumble down the order in these treacherous conditions. Will we see that again this time around, or will everyone get a good start off the line? Let's find out as 14 laps of racing is about to get underway. Race due to start at 2 o'clock. It did indeed head out on track at 2 o'clock. The green flag goes out at the end of these 2 warm-up laps, and I'm sure these drivers will be trying to find any sort of grip out there. The track is now completely wet out there. The rain tumbled all the way through the Mini X30 final and just before as well. So these drivers should be used to these conditions. They had the whole day like this yesterday where they had to deal with the wet conditions. So hopefully this time around they should have the knowledge of dealing with it. Like we say, Freddie Lloyd leads the championship by 2 points from Sandro Perez. Thomas Kinsey 3rd in the championship standings with only 26 points from Cathal Clark. Harry Bartel, Hugo Manes, Thibaut Ramaekers and Alexi Constant, who ran at the top 8 with just 11 championship points. The championship is close, but who is going to end this one leading the championship standings? Could it be Freddie Lloyd? Could it be Sandro Perez? Could it be Alexi Constant? Who knows? All these drivers primed, ready. The grandstand's full with the drivers and parents smiling away, ready to get this race underway as they exit out of the final corner into the tram lines. Is it green flag? Oh, first time of asking, it is. Good stuff from the inside row then as Freddie Lloyd dives to the inside, maintains the lead as he goes in, but round the outside there, who is that? Is that Coronel? It is Coronel, and it is also Alexi Constant as well. Constant up into 2nd place and Constant into the lead. Constant into the lead now as he goes through in towards turn number 2. The driver who started on the outside row, but now he gets swamped by the other 2 drivers. Lloyd and Thibaut Ramaekers goes through. Bartel knocking wheels with the number 58 of Louis Camon as they exit out of turn at number 3 in towards turn number 4. Ramaekers now takes the lead. The number 3 from last year, 3rd in the championship currently, who is in 7th in the point standings right now, leads this final. Lloyd to the outside line there, sweeps to try and get the momentum out of the corner of turn 6, but can't quite get enough. This has been a brilliant start so far.
Different lines, different level of grips, and you can see the drivers fighting already the way through, clipping the curbs in the first sector. But what a start it was from Thibaut Ramaekers. What did I tell you about the skills of these young drivers? Whatever the conditions, dry or wet, as Rocco Cornell is pushing as well to keep the number 15, also Vilmer Svahn just behind. Drivers completing lap number 1 out of 14 in this final. Watch out not to put 2 wheels into the grass into the last sector into number 12. Josh Nassar is picking up an investigation flag as we're back with the lead. The number 30 as well further back that we saw going around the wrong way actually in turn number 3. Going a bit wide, and he was able to get himself back onto the track. It was Joseph Smith running in P13 at the moment, as Thibaut Ramaekers had a perfect getaway on the inside on the way to turn number 1. He was able to surprise both Constant and Freddie Lloyd. Let's not forget that Alexi Constant was one of the strongest competitors in the qualifying heats. He, unfortunately for him, lost the result in his last qualifying heat, promoting Freddie Lloyd to a pole position in the end. as it was another driver, my apologies, who picked up a front-fairing penalty in one of the races. As a result, Freddie Lloyd was up there, and watch out for the battle. Rocco Coronel against the Swedish driver, Svahn, just further back. They are both respectively in P5 and 6 in front of Thomas Kinsey. Then we have a good recovery from the number 17 as well, picking up a few places up into 12th place, and a little bit better than now in P8 in front of Sacha. Smith running up the top 10, led by Thibaut Ramaekers. So 6/10 of a second now for the young Belgian, who could not have dreamed of a better start to his final.
Yes, indeed. One of the carts going slightly wide there. It's the number 16 that's gone awry at turn number 12. That's George Nassar, who is under investigation at the moment for the start of that race. Now tumbles down the order somewhat as we come back to our battle for second place here. Alexi Constant and Freddie Lloyd. Now, the points at the moment, Freddie Lloyd does lead the championship standings at the moment. And there's a kart coming to a stop. It's the Optimum. It's Joey Brown. And the number 12 is coming to a halt. And what corner is that on? That is on the exit of turn number 2, where that kart's come to a stop. And, well, what can you say about that? The engine's still running, but no, it's gone. It's completely stopped, and he's out of this race. What a disaster for Joey Brown, the young Brit who has had a pretty decent weekend so far, for it all to come to blows in the final. He retires this one after only 2 laps of racing. Ramaekers leads, though, and Alexi Constant now still 9/10 of a second down. This is more of the Thibaut Ramaekers that we're used to seeing in the earlier stages of this year in Spain. Gets to the front, maintains the momentum, drives away, and does what he needs to do. We didn't expect to see it this weekend, as he's had troubles all the way throughout the weekend, but right now in the final, he's doing exactly what he needs to do, and he'll be enjoying this with the championship standings. It'll promote him up into P2 in the championship standings with 42 points. He will surpass Thomas Kinsey, he will surpass Sandro Perez, Alexi Constant, Cathal Clark, and Harrison Bartle, or Harry Bartle, I should say, as they go through. 4 laps nearing completion. There on your screen, getting very sideways. The 17 of Zach Green, who's up 6 places at the moment, up into P7. Good
recoveries out there as well. Some of the drivers trying to maximize the conditions and in order to extract the best performance out of the machine and out of themselves. But Thibaut Ramaekers has been doing that with 1.1 second now, 1.2 up until the start of the race. Let's not forget that last year, for his first season in the junior category, Thibaut Ramaekers went on to win round 2 on this very track. The circuit he's been familiar with for quite a few years now. Here's the replay of the start. You can see Thomas Kinsey on the inside of the track trying to get away as well. Thibaut Ramaekers up into P2. Surprising on the exit, the pole sitter, as there was no room for him to go anywhere. Alexi Constant. Here you can see Constant being pushed a little bit on the side. The 51 had the best getaway in Freddie Lloyd, but it was just before Thibaut Ramaekers made his way through. I love that shot between the threes on the way to turn number 2. That's really great footage out there. One of the cameramans as well. And look at the contact that we see further back as well. Some drivers, the 69, getting in trouble as well onto the curb. But impressive footage out there and an impressive getaway from Thibaut Ramaekers. It's becoming his trademark, isn't it, to be able to really get as many overtaking maneuvers into the opening stages with lap number 5 and already more than 1 second in front of Alexi Constant. There were triple one, but Constant still has something to say in this race, and by the look of it, it seems that the gap has been decreasing. Look at how close they just become. 0.6 of a second now. So there might have been some trouble for Thibaut Ramaekers, or maybe at the same time, even though Ramaekers had the fastest lap just before, certainly will go the way of Alexi Constant, who was much faster on this last lap. Maybe mix that with maybe a slight mistake when it comes to Thibaut Ramaekers. Let's have a look. We have indeed the fastest lap for Alexi Constant. Here's the reason why he lapped half of a second faster than Thibaut Ramaekers on that one. That could be certainly the lap that might make a difference in the battle for the lead, as Freddie Lloyd is trying to catch up but not quite able to do so, the British driver. Yeah, the time's a little bit different. Consistently half a second slower is Freddie Lloyd on the last couple of laps, so struggling
with the conditions out there somewhat, but it is a quick driver. He has had a pretty fabulous weekend so far. Thibaut Ramaekers, on the other hand, like we were saying, he had a 6th place finish in his first heat, a 3rd and a 2nd. So yes, he was at the sharp end, but he didn't actually take a heat win at all over the course of yesterday. This morning, a little bit different story. He gained places, but again, didn't win the super heat, and then to come into the final. He saves the best till last. Is a replay here of Grant. You can just see, yeah, just trying his best. He's dealing with a lot of understeer there. The car just not wanting to bite and turn in, is it?
Yeah, and he came close to leave the track in turn number 3 out there, but was able to hold on to the line. Good piece of driving from Freddie Lloyd, but as a result, he lost 1.4 seconds on Alexi Constant. So all chances of stepping on higher than 3 in this race might have been gone for Freddie Lloyd. As we're back here on with the number 34 from Croc Promotion. This is further back in the classification as we were picking up on Sam Woolley at the back end of the grid. We just lost 1 driver so far in Joey Brown, unfortunately, for the Optima Racing team.
And that's George Nassar, who's off the circuit, the 16, who went off earlier on, and he's off again. And where's that? That looks to me like that's the exit of turn number 9 on the circuit. Nearing the end of the lap, he's trying to get it going again. He's going to try and bring it back onto the circuit, but as you can imagine, that's very tough to try and pull that car off the grass here, because it's very thick grass, it's very wet, it's very boggy as well from all the rain that we've had over this weekend. He does get it back somewhat onto the track, and of course any assistance from the marshal, and he will have to retire. And is he going to get it going? No, wheel spin. He's not going to get that going, and the marshal's going to say, no, I'm sorry, you had your chance. This car is with me now.
And it's part of the rule book, as you said, for the marshals not to give any help. It's not allowed for those of you joining in and saying to yourselves, why is he not helping that poor boy to get back onto the track? Well, I'm afraid he cannot. But this means race done and dusted, I'm afraid, for Nassar from GGM Racing Team. As we can see a replay on a contact, that's why.
So there was contact, and it wasn't at the exit of turn 9. It was actually through turn 12. So, very interesting there. And I'm sure race control will be looking at that one to see if there was any untowardness through that move. But yes, we'll keep an eye on that one as the race progresses. Here, though, the battle for 8th place, Kinsey and Smith still battling away. Here's another replay of something. There's Sandro Perez, and who's just behind him?
That's the nose cone. Yeah, look at that, moving. Actually, this misplaced completely. I think by the look of it, but Sandro Perez might actually have some trouble with his nose cone as well. Or maybe was it on the corner of my eye? We might need to see that again. The 57 it was. Sandro Perez, who's currently tumbled down the classification, I'm afraid. Yeah, it's all the way back to 31. But I think having seen him from the corner of my eye outside the speaker booth, I think everything is fine. But it was the other driver who was kicked on the nose, so to speak, and it means that he won't be able to carry on in this race. He's going to have the mechanical flag.
Exactly that. So that is a bit of a disaster. Now, action at the front. It's like an elastic band at the moment, isn't it? It's coming closer. It's then opening up again. It's a bit of a shake-up. Drivers are constantly at each other's rear bumpers and front bumpers. The gap's open up to 0.7 of a second again, excuse me, but it was down to ½ a second as well a little earlier on. So again, it's just chopping and changing all the way throughout. Both of them just trying to, I think, just maintain control of the kart throughout this. It's so slick out there. Remember, the track is wet, but it's not soaking wet, meaning that these tyres don't have a full effect as what they would usually have in really wet conditions.
And we saw 2 different lines that were interesting. Warning flag for Jean-Paul Carras. The other driver involved might have been with the incident with the number 15 that when going cross-country in the replay that we saw previously to Georges Nassar, the number 16, my apologies. But yeah, interesting to see the different lines, as outside of the number 6, you could see the leader, Thibaut Ramaekers, being aggressive on the curb, trying to maximize the grip, or at least staying away from the slippery part of the track on the inside line. And unlike him, Alexi Constant was avoiding the curb, very much so, into that particular bend of the track, even though he was going in for the turn number 8 and 9. So different styles of driving in those conditions. We've seen that a lot during the qualifying races. Some of them trying to go around the outside the long way, others are clipping the curb at every bend in order to really try to maximize the whatever grip they can actually find, and whatever grip they can put into those tires. But it's good driving skills, as you can see from the number 4 from a Victorylane. This is a battle from Sacha van Bosch as Bertram Sacha and Joseph Smith involved in the mix. We have the number 45 as well up there trying to catch up. As this is Bertram Sacha, indeed one of the privateers who climbed 8 places. Watch out as he's battling along with the number 30 just in front of him, Joseph Smith as well. Going through is Sacha van Bosch side by side, and van Bosch number 6, Carl Clark, my apologies. Van Bosch just in front of him, the number 4. And it's good to see Carl Clark back into racing mode. He won the last superheat, as we have the number 60, Clovis Nougarate from Victorylane, having to retire, unfortunately. That's a good sign. That's what we like to see, with the mechanic comforting the driver after what had been a difficult race. And we're live as well for the retirement of the 21.
That looked like Harrison Mackie to me in the 21 that's pulled into the pit lane. Yes, it is. And he's just not had a good weekend, this one. He had crashes during the heats yesterday and the final. He'll end that one in Parc Fermé, and a disaster for him. Not a happy chap at all.
And Carl Clark, just to conclude on that, P12 at the moment, but he lost his result in the second superheat on a penalty with the front fairing being bended. That led to Freddie Lloyd starting on pole position, but so Carl Clark had to start from further back on the grid. But so far he climbed just 2 places up to 12, so not the easiest of finals for the young British driver from Victorylane. As the leader on your picture, Thibaut Ramaekers has been able to pick up some more pace. Oh, the 69 is missing now.
Yeah, Walter Boeing at the back of the grid for the Falcon Racing team. He is off the circuit there at turn number 6. That car not able to get going again. Marshall's pointing him into the safe spots on the circuit. Here's a replay then of potentially what happened there. Okay, off the track. That's a VDK.
There's a 67 by the look of it. Just went the cross country.
Yeah. And not the way you want to do it. That is Matteo Davigno there, who's currently in P20. He's up 13 positions, so is on a good race at the moment. The same with Toby Gale and Austin Gale. Those two have followed each other, both the Croc Promotion drivers working together there and moving up the order. This battle here, not really amounting to anything at the moment. Alexi Constant not able to maintain the gap there with Ramaekers. It is just ever so slowly increasing now to nearly a second, the gap. So Thibaut Ramaekers in the number 3, despite his up and down troubles throughout this weekend, leads this final, and convincingly as well, as the gap opens up to 1.1. The battle further back. This is the battle for 6th place on your screen. Zach Green and Vilmer Svahn. No, it's not Vilmer Svahn. This is Rocco Coronel now, who's up into P7. Vilmer Svahn down into P7 now. So this is actually the battle for P5 now on your screens as they go through the next timing beam. So these two chasing each other. What have you spotted out there?
In the meantime, there's still a mechanical flag being waved to Carras, actually. Jacques Carras, number 114, who's at the back end of the grid with a misplaced front fairing, or the nose cone, shall I say, that is being misplaced. As in the meantime, the battle is raging. The number 38 getting past, and this is happening further back into the classification as we keep a watch on what's happening with the 126. This is Tyrone Kinnaird at the back end of the grid. Tyrone Kinnaird, who didn't have the best of finals, keeps on battling along with the likes of Senna Meunier and Carter as well in the mix. That's going to be an interesting one all the way to the checkered flag. Oh, look at the front fairing of Sandro Perez with the Pirelli machine. As a result of a contact, I'm afraid he's going to pick up a 5-second penalty as a result, as that keeps on battling with Senna Meunier, the Belgian colours on his white crash helmet. And he keeps on going in front of the number 42 from Jana Racing. Proenza is trying to give him a hard time. Lost momentum as a result. Oh, contact!
Oh, a big coming together there, and round goes the 14 of Jorn Helder, who also himself has got a nose cone drop there. You can see the front fairing dropping away there, and not sure what happened. Now the 114 of Jean-Paul Carras comes into the pit lane, and again the race is over. Yeah, the bent NASA panel there, and it's just an unfortunate way to end, you know, after a bit of contact like that, isn't it?
Yeah, it was about time for him to get back to the pits, because when you have the mechanical flag, you only have 3 laps to get back, which he did. Another replay is the contact with Tyrone Kinnaird and the number 15 in the battle. Look at them pushing each other and going a bit wide, unfortunately, for the number 14 of John Elder. who lost momentum as a result, and he kept on battling with one of the Jana Racing drivers. And here's the contact with the 38 Senna Meunier from Spirit Racing. As we're about to conclude this junior final live from Mariembourg, ladies and gentlemen. Thibaut Ramaekers, warning flag for Senna Meunier. That's very much logical. But this young man has been absolutely unreachable, like he did for the Winter Cup in Valencia. Not so lucky in Zwara for 1-1, but on home soil, like in last season, he just did a perfect job, and he wasn't catchable up until the end. Checkered flag and victory on home soil in front of his peers for Thibaut Ramaekers. And this is a 1-2 for Belgium on home soil, with Alexi Constant doing a perfect job as well, up into P2 for Dream Racing, and the podium being completed by Freddie Lloyd from Great Britain.
He maintains then his championship lead, does Freddie Lloyd, finishing in P3, but Thibaut Ramaekers on your screen for Belgium extends his chance of winning the championship. He moves himself up into second in the point standings with 42 race points. He celebrates with his fellow countryman for the Dream Racing team, Alexi Constant, who finishes in P2. A brilliant duel between the two of kart control and momentum round the circuit. These two, no match for any other driver out on circuits. They dominated that race, opening up a gap of near 6 seconds to third place is Freddie Lloyd, who, despite his best efforts, was just unable to get the kart to work with him in these tricky conditions. The front just not grabbing in these slick track conditions out there. So Thibaut Ramaekers, then the number 3 for VDK Racing, makes his way back into Parc Fermé, and he will be congratulated by his team for winning after 14 laps of racing from Alexi Constant. Freddie Lloyd then rounds out the top 3 from Louis Couman, who finishes in 4th place. From Zach Green, Rocker Coronel and Isaac Phelps taking 7th place. Sacha van Bad Bosch, Vilmer Svahn and Thomas Kinsey rounding out the top 10. Joseph Smith and Cathal Clark then will go from the top 12 places after gaining 8 and 2 places respectively from Bertram Sacha. Jensen Graham and Romeo Russell, Morgan Moore, Harry Bartle, Ivar Dorenson will start the race in 18th place, finish the race in 18th place and gain or lose any, so a good result nonetheless there. Matteo Devenue with 14 places gained finishes the race in P19 from Toby Gale and Austin Gale, the two brothers there finishing in 20th and 21st place after gaining 16 and 13 positions. Arthur Huang will finish the race in 22nd place after gaining 13 places as well from Henry Carter. Tyrone Kinnard, Sandro Perez, Senna Meunier with that warning flag as well, with the contact with Jorn Helder through turn number 3 at a few laps ago. Will finish this race in P26 on circuit that may be affected after the penalty is applied. Angelina Powenka crosses the line in P27th place from Jorn Helder, Sam Woolley, and will round out the 29 drivers that finished. Several retirements in this one. Jean-Paul Carras, Felipe Carras as well. Porter Bergenu, Harrison Mackie, Clovis Nogueira, George Nassar and Joey Brown. All the retirements, but there on your screen, Thibaut Ramaekers wins the Junior X30 final. Here's a look then at some of the highlights from that one. It was a good start once again from the inside line that would then have to sweep to the outside, and round the outside did go Alexi Constant, the pink helmet, gaining 2nd place, and you can see then the squabble started to happen a little further back as everyone just tried to pile their way in towards turn number 2. I think there would be a spin in the back of the field as well, as everyone would try to get traction out on circuit. Later on, you see Alexi Constant take the lead from Freddie Lloyd, who tried his very hardest there to maintain the lead. Then Thibaut Ramaekers tried to get into the fray. Freddie Lloyd fought back, and Thibaut Ramaekers actually managed to get past Alexi Constant through turn number 3. Bartle had the nice little coming together with the 58 of Louis Couman as well for Dream Racing as they went through, and one of the other karts in the background going a little high, wide and handsome looked like one of the Mick Barrett Racing karts. I think Joseph Smith running slightly wide there. You can see on the bottom hand side of your screen your 1st and 2nd place drivers there, Alexi Constant and Thibaut Ramaekers having a nice little chat there after the race. Perez would spin in the latter stages of that one. Again, challenging conditions as he rejoins the circuit. Off the track went George Nassar as well. Brown retired and understandably very frustrated in the early stages of that race, and off the track there went one of the VDK drivers. There's one of the shots there of Freddie Lloyd just struggling with the front end of that kart, just not able to get it turned in. There you saw the damage to Jean-Paul Carras trying to get that car back into the pit lane after receiving a technical flag. Then it all kicked off a little further back, as well as drivers just trying to find any position on the circuit. Chopping and changing, Cathal Clark involved in that battle as well. Retirements and came thick and fast in the latter stages of that one, and contact between these two as well. Aaron Kinnard and the 14 of Jorn Helder. Helder would then get more contact later on in the race, as it would all kick off again between these drivers. Going through in towards turn 3, Helder down the inside, and Bosch there, the 48 of Senemineur, would receive a warning flag for that one, but the checkered flag came out for Belgians. Thibaut Ramaekers at the end of 14 laps, winning by 1.6 seconds. The number 3 puts himself second in the championship with 42 championship points, just behind Freddie Lloyd's 49. And he celebrates and makes his way back into Parc Fermé. We'll see them later on the podium. Stay tuned. One more race to go. Senior X30 is next to come out. And again, this should be an interesting one. The track is still wet. It has not dried. The rain is still gently trickling here at Marienburg for round 2 of the Miami Euro Series. The longest race that we're going to see this weekend coming up next. 17 laps. Stay with us.